But you would expect that. After all, it's his profession, it's how he makes his living. Well, not quite, being a royal perhaps. If there were any surprises, really, it came with this business of the titles, Earl and Countess of Wessex. A bit strange, really, in this egalitarian age, perhaps. I think, really, you know, the Queen's fourth child and his bride are very lucky people in many ways. They do seem made for each other, and public tastes have certainly changed since the disasters that have befallen other royals. So they should be left in relative peace. I mean, the sort of people you see here leaving the wedding now, they're not keen to see the media intruding, and the media, frankly, is not keen to intrude either. Edward and Sophie should be allowed to get on with their business careers in relative peace. And one reason for all that, frankly, is that there is a new star on the horizon. The royal family has Prince William. He'll be 17 on Monday, and the media spotlight is increasingly, I have to say, falling on him. But for Edward and Sophie, this was a grand day in every way. I shared the surprise a bit about the lack of a kiss. I suppose, again, thinking back, they'll say to themselves there was that kiss on the balcony at Buckingham Palace, Charles and Diana, and look how that ended. Prince Andrew, I have to say, and the Duchess of York, they did a lot of kissing in public. And they still do from time to time, but that didn't end very well. All those lessons, all those images they know, the bad images they don't want to repeat, so perhaps we shouldn't have been surprised that they didn't do that. But when the landau was going around the streets of Windsor, there was an opportunity for the common touch, if you like, to let people see the newest member of the royal family, and everybody played their part in that. It was absolutely wonderful to see. I couldn't help feeling a bit as Edward and Sophie Rhys-Jones went round that they kind of glad this little bit was over. Now there's that reception to come. Very nerve-wracking affair that's going to be. I feel particularly for Sophie Rhys-Jones's father. He is going to have to be making a speech in front of the whole royal family. Very daunting indeed. I'm sure he will do it very well. Everyone's played their part very well.
Nick, Owen, thank you. And that brings us to a close of this special programme on the marriage of Prince Edward to Sophie Rhys-Jones. You heard their new titles. It was a day which saw the eyes of the world fix here on Windsor as the royal family welcomed a new member. And it was a day when many traditions were set aside to make way for a new style of royal wedding. But mostly it was a day which saw a young couple celebrate their love for each other. We leave you now with some of today's most memorable images from me and from all my colleagues here at Windsor. Goodbye.
I pronounce that they be man and wife together.
Meridian. It's 6:30.
Good evening. Prince Edward and Sophie Rhys-Jones were married in Windsor this afternoon. The royal family were joined by thousands of well-wishers around St George's Chapel as the couple exchanged wedding vows and took on new titles, the Earl and the Countess of Wessex. Sue Saville saw the ceremony.
It was a cheerful Prince Edward who, accompanied by his brothers as his supporters, waved to the crowds. The Queen Mother walked unaided into St George's Chapel, where the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh paused briefly on the steps. Then the moment of great anticipation as Sophie Rhys-Jones stepped out of the car to reveal her bridal gown. Smiling shyly under her silk veil, she was wearing a fitted dress with a long train, decorated with over 300,000 beads. Prince Edward himself designed her black and white pearl necklace as a wedding gift for Sophie. To a specially composed fanfare, Sophie walked down the aisle escorted by her father. Prince Edward looked on proudly as his bride approached. Her father lifted the veil, and a slightly nervous-looking Sophie smiled at her prince.
I, Edward Anthony Richard Louis,
Take thee, Sophie Helen,
take thee, Sophie Helen,
to my wedded wife,
to my wedded wife,
for richer, for poorer,
in sickness and in health,
in sickness and in health,
to love, cherish and to obey,
to love, cherish and obey,
till death us do part.
till death us do part.
Once the ring was secured, Edward and Sophie became man and wife, and the Earl and Countess of Wessex. A curtsy to the Queen, and then Sophie and Edward emerged in the bright late afternoon light and to the applause of the waiting crowds. The new Earl and Countess posed on the steps with their attendants. They resisted the chance to pose for a kiss, but they looked happy and relaxed, the ceremony now over. Sue Saville, ITN, Windsor.
And a short while ago, the newly married couple toured Windsor Castle grounds and the town centre in an open-topped horse-drawn carriage. Emerging from the castle grounds, the new Earl and Countess of Wessex turned into Castle Hill, where the public had begun to gather since 4 o'clock. The carriage, with accompanying riders in full ascot livery, was followed by another carriage carrying the Prince of Wales and the Duke of York. Among those receiving a wave was the florist who'd provided today's flowers. The drive finished back at the castle for the reception this evening. Well, live now to Windsor and our royal correspondent there, Nicholas Owen. So, Nicholas, would you say it all passed off smoothly?
Oh, it was certainly smooth. A shame about the weather. It was pretty chilly, frankly. It didn't actually rain, not quite. Shame that there wasn't a kiss in public. I guess they had images of previous royal marriages in mind, particularly the balcony scene, Charles and Diana. They didn't want a repeat of that. But I think, you know, it was really a successful blend of family occasion, state event, because after all it was that. This is a member of the royal family, the Queen's fourth child, and it was also a TV spectacular, but you would expect that really. After all, Prince Edward is a TV producer professionally, and Sophie Rhys-Jones is very much in the media world as well.
And Nick, what do you make of these new titles, the Earl and Countess of Wessex?
Well, that was a bit of a surprise, I must say. It's many, many years since there's been anything to do, any Earl of Wessex or Countess of Wessex. Indeed, Sophie will be known privately, apparently, as Sophie Wessex. Another thing is that Prince Edward will take on the title of his father, Duke of Edinburgh, when eventually his father passes away. But one interesting and important thing, Sophie will be HRH, Her Royal Highness, but it's been decided that if they are children, they won't bear the style HRH.
Nick, thanks a lot. And you can see extended highlights of the royal wedding on tonight's late news bulletin here on ITV at 5 to 11.